What you think about salvation, about what it means to be a Christian or not be a Christian, matters. You may not even know what you think about that, but you probably do think something, and it really does matter. I once had a friend in high school. She was Muslim, and she knew I was a Christian and knew that I was Christian, who actually took that seriously. And she once said something to me that I haven't forgotten. She had obviously picked up enough growing up in a Christian country, Christian-ish country, about what's actually talked about in church and among Christians. And she asked me about that one point, and she said, I just don't get it about Christianity. I don't get how you just say you believe a couple things about Jesus, and then you pray this prayer, and then that's it. You're done. You're saved. You're a Christian. You go to heaven. Now, she had obviously absorbed from the culture around her what the main core teaching of at least many, many Christians was. And one of the things that she was reacting to was, of course, the sense of undesert that's there. It doesn't seem like God should be so generous and so giving with people like us. But the other thing that she was reacting to, and this is what sticks with me, is the sense of disconnect. The sense of disconnect between believing a couple things, saying a certain kind of prayer, and then that bringing about heaven or salvation or however that's going to be spelled out. And I probably said nothing of very intelligent worth in response, and I can't even remember what that was, but her thought really has stuck with me, and I started to ask that myself. Would God really do it that way? Hey everybody, welcome to the Sanctus Forum. I am Michael Stewart Robb, better known as Mike, and you are listening to the Conspiracy Commentaries, which we talk about Dallas Willard's The Divine Conspiracy, just section by section. Now, I say you might be listening to it because there is a podcast associated with this, so in case that you get tired of looking at my face or just need to, listen to these on the go somehow, you can listen to that. I kind of forget that some people might only be listening, but that option is there for you as well as the option to sign up for our almost monthly newsletter. The Sanctus Forum is a part of Sanctus, a European Institute for Theology and Spiritual Formation, and we have a newsletter which I write. And you sign up for it on sanctus.institute, and then you find out more about what we actually do. So, as for this section, it's titled, Would God Really Do It That Way? Dallas is going to just keep digging into what he sees as a leading understanding of Christianity and salvation in his day. Now, it may have changed a little bit in our day, but that's why I say what you actually think about salvation matters. And if you want Jesus or Christianity to matter for this life, it does matter how you think you get into this whole Christianity business to begin with. Dallas here in the very first sentence says that some people remain firmly pinned to their Christian life having nothing to do with their actual life because of their ideas about salvation. Now, I want to give a philosophical name for what Dallas is concerned about this barcode faith, which we talked about in the last video. The philosophical name is occasionalism. You can Google it, or I don't know, whatever you do to figure out big words. It comes from the philosophy of René Descartes. So if you do an intro to philosophy class or study philosophy to any degree, you'll come across René Descartes. Here's my copy of his Discourse on Method and Meditations. And Descartes was a thinker who, well, to make a long story short, he really focused on the connection between mind and body and really thought that they were quite separate entities. Dualism is the special word for that, and René Descartes is a classic dualist. Now, the thing about it is he had described them in such disconnection that it was hard to understand how that they would interact with each other. So, for example, your mind says, I'd like to move a finger, but it can't really communicate with your body. And so how do you make sense of that? And one of René Descartes' students, who is goes by the name Malebranche, he doesn't go by the name Malebranche, we call him Malebranche. He came up with this theory that your mind says, okay, move this finger, and God says, or God looks at you and your mind and he says, oh, okay, Mike wants to move his finger, and then God moves the finger. That's occasionalism. Now, that's what Dallas is thinking is happening here in this sort of form of salvation which he is worried about. He thinks that there's something over here. You have this right kind of faith, or maybe you participate in a certain ritual, or you're a member of a church, and that kind of triggers God. God pays attention to that, and then he says, okay, then I will add salvation of whatever sort, usually something to do with going to the right kind of afterlife. But you see, the little thing that you did, the faith that you had, the ritual that you did, doesn't have its own internal character and causes and effects that then have anything to do with the result, the going to the afterlife, or whatever it is that you're going to get out of salvation. And that's the occasionalist part of this, okay? Barcode faith, occasionalism. Write it down, impress your friends. And Dallas is going to have two arguments against this. The first one is a theology argument. He's going to say, he does this on page 38. He says, would God establish a barcode arrangement at all? Would he really do it this way? And he says, use what little you know about God. He's somewhat intelligent, somewhat good, somewhat powerful. Why would he care about little things like little rituals, and then rituals that are maybe completely disconnected from what humanity really needs, whether it's salvation in the afterlife or salvation in this life? And what he wants to say is that, well, no, based on what we know about God, that doesn't make any sense. The second argument is the Bible argument. I'm not going to go into that, but the idea is that this just isn't what the Bible teaches about faith. It talks about faith being a psychological fact, a fact that has causes and effects in our person. And that's why God cares about faith, because faith is important for human life and actually changes the dynamic of human life. And that's why your faith about salvation and what you think there actually matters, because it actually matters for what you do and you don't do in life. Well, thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe if that's your thing to do, and check out our almost monthly newsletter. And I will see you next time, and we'll keep talking about Dallas Willard. Bye.